Hi my friends, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm super excited to do this video. You know I like drugstore stuff and I really like to hone in on maybe a drugstore brand or type of product that I feel like is kind of overlooked, and that's what we're doing today. I mentioned in my last video, which was a little haul, I had gotten some Rimmel Lasting Finish foundation. So that's a foundation that goes way back to the early days of my channel, something I really liked. I considered it one of my best products, and I got it again very recently from Walgreens, and I said in that video, you know, what's going on with Rimmel? Like, we don't hear a lot about Rimmel. Like, they're still there in Walgreens and Walmart, but it's just not a brand you hear a lot of online buzz about. And it didn't take long for that thought to simmer in my head, and I said, I'm doing a full face of Rimmel. Most of these items are things I'm familiar with. There are a few that are going to get tried for the first time in this video. There were a few blanks that needed filling in, and I did that yesterday. They also have a fairly new subline, and it's called Kind and Free. I was about to say Wild and Free, but Kind and Free. And I got like a mascara and a liner from that line. And we're just going to see what this Rimmel full face can do. I will say I have been super pleased with the wear time of my Lasting Finish foundation. I do kind of a light touch up on myself before I go pick up the girls from school. I'll maybe just add a little bit of powder to my T-zone, but it's nothing much, and I do feel like this is worn really well on me. It hasn't looked overly dry on my skin. It hasn't gotten patchy or anything, so I'm excited about that. But today, we're gonna throw in one other element. I got a primer. This is the only primer I could find from Rimmel, and it's their Stay Matte Primer. Now, I have talked about in the past, Rimmel has their Stay Matte Foundation. It's like a mousse foundation that squeezes out of a tube. I've often said it's as if Dream Matte Mousse was stuffed into a tube and made a little more creamy. It's very full coverage. It's very much the kind of thing you want to blend out with a beauty blender for sure. But they have this primer that goes in that range, and I thought, you know, maybe I could try this and see if it's not over drying, because it does say hydrating feel, soothe skin, pore minimizing, but it is also shine controlling. So part of the Stay Matte line, let's try it out. I'm just going to squeeze out a little bit here. It looks totally white. So of course all my skincare and sunscreen is already on. Ooh, I like the slip across the skin. Nice glide. Definitely does not feel like it's going to be drying. Do we feel like it did any mattifying? It might be the kind of thing where with the action it's doing on the pores, we'll notice it after the foundation goes on. But all in all, this is actually a little bit hydrating on the skin, which was surprising. And something about Rimmel, if you're not familiar, it is one of the most affordable drugstore brands. So I think about Wet n Wild, I think about Hard Candy, and Rimmel is another one of those things where if you're tired of seeing makeup costing you over the $10 mark, look to Rimmel. That's one of those brands where a lot of it's still going to be under 10. I'm just taking a peek here at Walmart's website. Yeah, I mean, that Stay Matte foundation I described, that's $4 and change. We got lip glosses for $3, eyeliners $4, $3 bronzer, 2 packs of mascara for under $5. Eyeshadow palettes run just under $8. So, you know, it might be a brand to look to if you're getting kind of exhausted by all of these high drugstore prices we're seeing lately. But this is my Lasting Finish foundation, as I showed in my haul video. It says 25-hour wear. It has hydration boost, it says, full coverage, SPF 20. I wear the shade Soft Beige, just like I always did when this was in a squeeze tube. And now we have a pump. And I will say, I've not seen this at Walmart, but I did get it from Walgreens. I'm trying to think, is Target still selling Rimmel? If they are, I feel like it's a small amount. But anyways, I'm gonna do a full pump of this. Full pump, and we're just gonna dab this all around. And that primer still does not feel like it's gone dry on my skin. It feels actually really nice. And with this foundation, I mean, you could blend it out with a brush, you could blend it out with a sponge. It's kind of whatever your preference is. It works for either because the consistency is such like a classic liquid foundation. So I'm going to use this Profusion blending brush and just work this around on my skin. It does have a little bit of a scent. It's kind of like a light, fresh scent. It's not bad, but I notice it just here as I'm blending. Now, of course, blending with a brush is going to take you to a fuller coverage place. I wouldn't say this is like maximum full coverage, but it's very close. Part of that kind of depends on the amount you put on your skin, your blending method, like I said. But when I think about their Stay Matte foundation, like that's really undeniably full. And this is definitely a little more natural looking than that. See how all over the skin does not look flat, it doesn't look dry, but yet small imperfections definitely look covered. It definitely definitely did help me out a little bit on my under eye area. Hey, back to the old days, throwing it back. And this foundation has gone through some makeovers over time. I think there was a time when it had like a silvery cap, am I right? But super easy to blend. Like I said, use a beauty blender if you prefer, but I've had really nice staying power with this. I love the way it looks on my skin. I'm a normal to dry skin type. I have some really active days at times with my 4-year-old or at cheerleading practice or whatever. And the way this foundation has been getting through the last few days, I'm very, very pleased. And I will say, looking up close at my nose and the sides of my nose, I think this has had a little bit of an effect on the pores. This Stay Matte Primer. The foundation does not look any drier on my skin than it normally would, but I feel like maybe the pores are a little bit smoothed out. I've had this on hand for over a month and a half maybe. Their new Multitasker Concealer. This was another find at Walgreens. It says the Multitasker Concealer Full Coverage. The shade I have is 50 Sand. And this has been a good concealer. I think Rimmel just wanted to have out there, you know, a concealer that could compete with the full coverage ones that all these other brands are putting out to kind of copy Shape Tape. It feels rather thin. I would have to say it feels on the thinner side compared to some of the other concealers like this that I've used. Just to touch the consistency, put it on my hand here, it feels a little bit lighter than e.l.f. Camo Concealer. And I'm just going to take my e.l.f. Duo brush here and spread my dots around so I don't just immediately eat them up with the larger side of the brush. Get that lightness and brightness going everywhere. And this is my first time trying this alongside the Lasting Finish foundation. So we'll see how they do together. I've definitely used this on top of some lighter coverage things. And I think I've come away saying, well, maybe it's not quite as full coverage as Camo Concealer, but here it's got a really nice, really good coverage foundation to go on top of. So we'll see how the two do together. Wow, that looks pretty flawless over there. I'm just taking my larger end now. I'm just bopping it over. I'm not doing a swiping motion, okay? I'm wanting to preserve coverage. So I'm just dabbing right across that whole zone. As with any concealer, you want to make sure you're really well blended in these inner corners, in any area where maybe you show a little dryness with wear. Sometimes that's around the nostrils. You just got to make sure you're getting it all very well blended and that there's no excess sitting in any of these zones. I feel like that looks great. I honestly don't think it could look much better. I feel extremely covered, but looking up close, I don't look really dry. And I think that's the benefit of the thinness of this concealer. It is not very thick, so it's blending out almost kind of like the Tarte Shape Tape Radiant. Maybe not quite as much moisture as this one, but a similar feel on the skin, if you know what I mean. A similar lightness. One thing about Rimmel is I feel like there are some areas of their brand where they could really expand and put out some more products. Like I think they do have a loose powder possibly in their Stay Matte range. I don't have that, but I do have their Stay Matte pressed powder, and I will say I love this product. This I have in the shade Creamy Natural. I've had a couple different shades over time, and I feel like this is the most brightening if you're going to use it on like under eye, if you're about my skin tone. It's a really appropriate shade for that. And I know I've said this many times, but this is a firmly pressed powder. So when you put your brush in, you're not going to see a cloud of dust, you know, coming up as a result. It's firmly pressed. You are going to get some on your brush, but it's never going to be too much. This product will pace you, okay? So I'm just getting a little bit here on my Morphe under eye bullet brush. It's not a lot, and frankly, I don't think I need a ton of setting powder, but I'm just taking it and dabbing it over T-zone, and I'm getting, I think, an even more flawless look with the addition of this product. It's just a nice, like, lightweight setting powder. It's not something you're gonna do like full-on bakes with. It's not something that's gonna double as powder foundation. It is just a true pressed powder, and you're gonna be able to get it for like $3 and change at Walmart, and it's good. Now I feel like, yes, my under eyes are set. They do not feel super dry. I think a thing about Rimmel's line, there is this sub-line called Stay Matte, and you can't get too, like, hung up on that word or scared of it, because this primer, for example, I mean, they could just as well have called this like pore filler or something like that. I know the entire range is Stay Matte, but it's not like this was too drying. It's not like this powder is too scary matte on my skin, you know? And then for bronzer, I will say in this Kind and Free line, I haven't been able to find these in person yet, but I think they have some blush sticks and possibly bronzer sticks out as well. So I think that's a brand new thing, and I've yet to find them in my stores. I will probably need to check Walgreens. They just sometimes seem to stock a little more stuff. But I do have the Rimmel Natural Bronzer, and this is another one of those $3 and change products. I like the shade Sun Bronze. They've got several different options, but this is just a really good classic bronzer. This goes back to the days when, like, I remember having Klee on my channel, and we did like what's in Kaylee's makeup bag. Anybody remember that? I remember helping her get makeup together for the news, and we got her some Rimmel bronzer. And I think she just used that stuff like crazy. But this is a really non-intimidating bronzer. You can see I'm gently building it up. It's another powder formula where, you know, maybe I'm picking up a little more softness compared to the Stay Matte powder, but it's not a scary, super dark shade or anything that's gonna like get super patchy on the skin or look out of place. Like, I feel like this looks very natural and really good. So far, like, I'm absolutely thrilled with the way this complexion's coming together. And you know, as I was talking about those brands at the drugstore that are less expensive, I would have to also add that there are parts of e.l.f.'s line that I think are definitely less expensive. CoverGirl, Maybelline, they may have some spotty things here or there that are a little older in their line that just don't cost as much, but all in all, those bigger brands, you can practically count on any new foundation coming out. They're gonna definitely be charging over $10. And you're seeing that too with like blushes and bronzers as well. So just keep in mind, you could spend the $11 or $12 on the L'Oreal Infallible bronzer, or you could get this, and guess what? It works pretty much the same. It's just a classic matte bronzer. And then for blushes, they have this Maxi Blush range. We're talking potent, very colorful, very pigmented matte blushes here. So we're just continuing on with the matte look, and I don't think I have any highlighter from this brand. But that's okay, the skin is looking flawless. I've got this shade called Wild Card, and then I also have one called Rendezvous, and this is nice and deep and would definitely be something that would show up on deeper skin tones. For me, what I can do with this shade is take my e.l.f. blush brush, lightly dab in, tap off excess, and have kind of this pretty berry flush on the cheeks, just totally shearing it out. I mean, I've got very little on the brush. And look at that pretty soft berry color. I mean, this stuff couldn't be doing much better than it is, guys. Like, I'm loving it. I'm trying to think, what does Rimmel have for a highlighter? I'm just Googling it now. Everybody have their brackets filled out for March Madness? I just got that done last night. I'm shooting this on Thursday morning. Okay, they do have something called Highlight, Rimmel Highlight. Apparently it's at Walmart. Maybe that's an ordering item because I have not seen that there. And it's on Amazon too. So here's what this looks like, just applied in the softest way. It could go so much harder. I mean, just look what a swatch looks like of that. A rich berry blush, okay? And then maybe we take a little coral pop here. This is Wild Card. I had both of these on hand for a long time. I don't know why I haven't been using them. Look, just a little dab in, really pretty, fresh, full color blush for like under $5. I'm just putting it right there on the apple of the cheek because I think that's where I just see the life and energy just coming through. I know they have a Stay Matte setting spray that was out of stock when I got the primer recently. We're talking smooth, even, as colorful as you want it to be. Yes, yes. We have had no major fails whatsoever, and no, this is not a sponsored video. You're never gonna find a sponsored video on my channel, but just focusing in on Rimmel for these complexion steps, I am loving the way my skin looks. It looks super even. It looks kind of like doll skin. I'm very happy with that. My usual mugs were dirty in the sink, so we have the owl today. Owls don't need to just be branded as a fall creature, right? They're around all the time. I think Bubba has recurring dreams about owls because sometimes first thing in the morning when I come in, he says there was an owl in my room. Or he'll ask me, is there an owl in my room? I'm not sure I've ever used a Rimmel brow product. I don't know, there's probably been something along the line, but I had to buy one fresh for this video. I got this Brow This Way professional pencil, it says. I have the shade dark brown. It's a classic pencil and you've got a little brush on the cap. So let's go ahead and use this to start filling in. It's weird to not be using one of those little retractable skinny pencils. You know, we're using an actual pencil here. I can tell there's a little warmth in this color that's a bit warmer than my hair color, but I have enough hair for it to kind of hide into, so to speak. Nothing really wrong with that at all. The thickness of the pencil will remind you maybe of an e.l.f. Instant Lift just because it's not ultra skinny, but yet it could be sharpened to a sharp point. Also, this cute little shirt is from Walmart. They have some relaxed fit t-shirts and some stripes and solid colors as well. Under 10 bucks and they're a really nice fit. They're not like super loose and baggy, but I feel like maybe I should get some more for summertime. The left brow has just been harder for me these days. I don't know why. It causes me to pay a little more time and attention. Okay, then I'm gonna recap and I can use this little brush to just make sure everything got evenly applied. This is not a texture of pencil that's gonna chunk a lot of product in at once, so I don't know that the brush is even that essential, but it's nice that it's there. So I would say this is a good pencil. It's not wowing me, but it was fine. If you're a person who's like my coloring and you're feeling like you pretty much have to recreate a brow, just know that this dark brown shade actually does have a little warmth in it. It's not a full-on like cool brown. And then I don't have a gel from this range, so I think I'll just take NYX Control Freak. One of the best clear brow gels in the game. Now we need to prime the eyes. Just like I don't have a Rimmel brow gel, I don't have a Rimmel primer. We're gonna use Milani. It's all good. We're still staying in the drugstore, but I do have a Rimmel eyeshadow palette. I actually own several of these kind of long skinny eye palettes that they sell for $7, $7.97 or something like that at Walmart. And they're not bad. One of my favorites, I'll get it out and show it to you. This has been one of my favorites, this Magnifies Spice Edition. Kind of fashioned after Urban Decay Naked Heat, but has some really nice richness over here. I know I like this one. Okay, so I thought, let's try something different for this video. But if you like a little warmth and this color scheme appeals to you, it's got some little splashes of shimmer that aren't too sparkly or too much, and quite a bit of matte too. So I do like that one. That's an Emily approved one. But I decided to get the nude one now because I know the nude eye looks are so kind of sought after these days. People want to look just barely there with their eye looks. You could do more than barely there with this palette, but this is what this one looks like. Let's bring it on in. We have a lot of soft light shades. I'm going to point to the mattes. Wait, is this one matte? Ooh, no, but it's a nice soft pearl right here. But this is matte. This would be a nice kind of blended out shade, a nice started off in the crease color. This is kind of an interesting shade. It's like a brown with mixed with a little mauve right there. And then this gray on the end, we've got a little cool sector over here. And then this shade, these shades have some shimmer. This one's got a little bit of a satin finish as well, this plum, and some shimmer over here and here. And like I said, this one is a very soft shimmer. But these colors are absolutely usable. And let's talk about the applicator as well. One side is a sponge tip. One side is practically like my Profusion small pointed brush. Like if you want a little control in the outer corner or a little smudging on the lower lash line, don't just toss this aside. Okay, so this is again Magnifies Nude Edition. Got our Milani primer on. I am gonna go to this first shade right here, this soft matte. I'm seeing, is it gonna be deep enough to show anything as we go into the crease? Are we seeing it? Okay, I am seeing a light definition happening there. I don't know if they still sell the Crimson edition, but I have that too. That's got a lot of reddish berry colors. They've got a couple others that are a bit more random and sporadic with the different colors that are inside. You just have to look at your Walmart or your Walgreens and see what they have on hand. But yes, this is giving a nice natural shadow. I would really like to see what this shade will do. This one that looks like a little bit of brown mixed with berry or mauve. What's she gonna offer? Adding some depth, but it's kind of hard to put my finger on what actual color I'm seeing. Like this is just looking soft and a little deeper. Again, they're calling it a nude palette, so I wasn't expecting a massive color splash, but I don't know, maybe if we packed it on, we would see a little bit more of that look that we see in the palette, but for right now, it's darkened it a notch. I would like to see what this shade does on the border of what I'm doing here and see if it's a good kind of softener color. Yes. Really nice on the edge of what you're doing. Like you've been blending, but that's an immediate full-on blend. In person, it's looking just a little deeper than I think it's coming off on camera. And then if you want a little shimmer, I'm just cleaning off my brush a little bit there. This very soft, barely there pearl would make a nice little underbrow highlight. So we're just kind of setting the foundation. I mean, that could be the look. The way people are wearing eyeshadow these days, like that could be it. But I want to see what some of these deeper shades can do. I really want to see what that plum with a little shimmer is all about. I'm taking my Morphe flat brush, Going right into it and not experiencing a lick of fallout from that. So hopefully it's still soft enough to build and show. Okay, getting some depth. Building. So far, my take on this palette is that this could be a really nice option for a beginner makeup user who's wanting to have some shades to experiment with, you know, wanting some range, but not colors that are going to overwhelm you, or really anybody who just has that preference on makeup. You know, I want my look to be overall not too heavy, but I still want to have contrast. This is giving contrast. I'm just patting that plum. The shimmer is so soft, it practically is looking matte. And the plum is very like, not real noticeable. When I look at that, I don't know, it's questionable whether it's plum or dark brown. But yeah, dabbing there on the outside, and then you could take this little brush. I think this is fully usable. This little brush, and we could go into the same shade. Oh yeah, for sure. And you could start working that up in the outer corner. Rimmel, do you know what you did here? You gave the masses one of the rarest brush shapes that is so needed. And now I can target that shade a little bit more right in the crease. I can shape it. I can give myself like an outer V, some lift. This is coming together to be a really pretty, soft, finished, pulled together eye look here. I'm tempted to take my crease brush again. And now that I've worked with a little more darkness, you could pull in your crease brush and at any time pull in this blender shade. This third shade in is a great on the border blend, but keeping it soft and really classy and classic. We could have gone an even cooler direction. We have this shade, wow. Okay, that's showing a lot of pigment and just a barely there satin finish on that second to the end shade. Okay, that's there. And then a really smooth and pigmented matte gray on the end. So a smoky eye is totally within reach for this palette. I just kind of stuck to some of the more natural tones, but dang, I wasn't expecting those to feel so soft. Coming inward on the eye, what do we want to see? They've given us a nice variety of shimmers. Nothing's really overlapping. We've got that shade, which is highly reflective. Hey, a little face highlight. I'm gonna try that. And then this shade is a bit rosy, rose gold perhaps, soft golden shimmer, a little bit taupey on the next one down, and a little bit of a dirty bronze out of that one there. None of those shades really look like they're totally copycatting one another. I think I'm gonna go to that bronzy one, see how this sponge tip works. Not loving the sponge tip for this, but let's hang in there a bit. The shimmer is really light on this shade, not too much at all. I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't discover this palette sooner. I'm going to take a little bit of this brightening shade because I just want to see. Oh yeah, that's nice. It's not too frosty, so it can actually hang in there and brighten a bit. That's the second shade in. Just because we didn't have any highlight on the skin. I'm taking Real Techniques setting brush. I'm going right in there to that second shade. Just as I suspected. It's not too frosty, but wow, it's totally brightening. Cool. And suddenly the skin looks just a little bit glossy. Really nice. So the soft nude eye with still a little drama on the outside is totally working for me. Hello, Bisky. I'm thinking about just running back into that deep shimmer with this brush just because I want to see how well it lays it down on the lower lash line. You don't want to have too much on your brush. You're still working with a deep colored powder. We don't want to create fallout or anything. But I think this palette has a really low fallout risk. Hi, honey. She wants pets. But all we did there, see, we just gave ourselves a little definition under the eye. And then I would take my Rimmel Stay Matte with a smallish brush and go right underneath it and help keep any oils under the eye from breaking that down or making it move around, because powders just do not last as well as certain jumbo sticks that set or certain liners that set, so you got to know that. But Wow, really pleased. I think there's a lot of potential we haven't even unlocked yet with those end colors. So from this Kind and Free line, I kept some of the packaging so I could tell you more about it. It says the Clean Eye Definer, ultra creamy texture, high color impact. They say this is vegan and clean, cruelty free, made of FSC certified material. I'm not sure what FSC stands for, but cute little packaging here, and the color on the cap is going to tell you what color it is. So let's give her a go. We're going over some powder eyeshadow, which, ooh, she's feeling a little dry. I'm starting to get a little line there. I'm keeping it really close to my lash line. It's not gliding wonderfully. It is a classic pencil, and it is being asked to go over, you know, powder shadow, but that's the name of the game with eyeliner. So I basically have a full-on line right in here, and at about mid-eye, I'm just tapering it down to nothing as it goes inward. Let's try it over here. It does give you a thicker looking lash line, you know, if you do this. Going on this eye a little better. Maybe the pencil just needed to be warmed up a little. And then I have the Kind and Free mascara, which is clean, volumizing, and conditioning, they say. Mascara with organic shea butter. Contains 99% of ingredients of natural origins. Vegan. This is what it looks like. The brush. Kind of like a traditional bristle brush. This is my first use of this, and it was my first use of this one as well. You never know with me and mascaras. I'm hoping it builds some volume. I'm hoping it really looks like something, and it doesn't drop my curl immediately. Biscuits is over in the pink chair, waiting to see. Regardless of what happens with this mascara, for as amazing as those complexion products came together, and nothing was over $10. And then we came in with an eye look that I could practically recommend that palette to people of any age, who don't want too much shimmer, who don't want anything too loud. This could look good on mature eyes. This could look good on somebody just starting out. This video is already a win for Rimmel. And then we created our own highlight out of the eyeshadow. Yes. And that shade on the very end, I think, would have been a nice, like, even softer highlight. Okay, let's go. It looks like there's maybe a couple parts of this brush that don't have as many bristles, and maybe that's to lay down more product. Wait a minute. That laid down quick. Okay. It feels like there's more on the brush than you think there's gonna be, which is sometimes good for me. I'm hoping it doesn't end up dropping the curl because it feels pretty creamy. But quite a bit went on there, and it's looking very black. Not a problem whatsoever. That's one coat. That's good length. That's some thickness. I mean, the immediate first swipe was some thickness. Let's see how she builds. I remember using a few Rimmel mascaras like way back when, you know, apartment days. I remember hardly any of them working out for me at all. It was kind of like Revlon and Rimmel. Like, I could not find a mascara that really vibed with me. This is doing a wonderful job, I gotta say. I do not have huge lashes. They're not super long, they're not super thick, but this is working with them, and it built on it really well with coat 2. What I think I'm gonna do is move on to the other eye and then go back to the right eye in a minute and see if she can take any more, but this is surprising. And I know I got some good lip stuff to share too, so woohoo! But you see what I mean? How, like, there is room for some different items in Rimmel's line. I feel like they've definitely given us some full coverage foundation options, but how about something that's going to be similar to maybe a Bare Focus Tinted Hydrator from Wet n Wild? I think that's one coat. I can't remember if I went in for more. I'm liking this so much. There definitely is like a side of this brush, 2 sides maybe, 3? Yeah, I think there's possibly 3 avenues down the brush that do not have as many bristles, and therefore that's how you're getting some good product on the lashes, and then turning it and letting a bristly side kind of brush it on through. And yes, coat 3 is still not creating funky ends, and it's only thickening and maybe adding a little more length over there. Awesome. Kind and Free. I'm not positive if this is coat 2 or coat 3 that I'm on over here on this eye, because I was kind of talking and I don't know if I dip back in, but whatever the case, she's building well, looking black. I'm probably not going to experiment with this on my lower lashes today, but that's fine. This is building so well. I mean, Yes, thumbs up, way up. We've got some lip stuff to discuss here. If you've been with my channel, you've maybe possibly heard me talk about the Stay Plumped products from Rimmel. These are very good. These are a one-step lip. You will have that opaque color that doesn't even require lip liner, and then it's also glossy and it also plumps a little bit, and they also smell like fall. They smell like cinnamon. I've got the shade Rosy Posy and Spiced Nude. They're really, really similar. I'll just try one of them on. Here's the Spiced Nude. Got this nice little applicator that's sort of flat and it gives you a lot of control. But look how it is truly one swipe opaque color. A lot of glossy shine, and it does have that, you know, slight plumping ability, but not stingy. Super shiny. I think it was fall when I discovered these because the scent is taking me right back. Perfect nude lip. These are outstanding. Not too sticky, but there is enough thickness to make you think this will wear a decently long time, like longer than the average bear as far as lip gloss goes. So definitely be on the lookout for the Stay Plumped stuff. That is a very good formula. If you're not about a sheer gloss and you really want that gloss to show in a full color way, and you like a little plumping bonus, get after that. Then this is the one thing from the Kind and Free line that I had on hand for a while here. I got this tinted lip balm a while back. It's the one called Turbo Red, so I'll pop that on for you. It's a skinny stick. It does have a little shimmer in it, but it feels kind of like a lip balm. It reminds me a lot of the CoverGirl Clean Fresh balms. Kind of like if you mixed You're the Palm and I Cherish You. Look at that. Soft red balm. There is some sheerness. You don't have to be scared of it. Great for somebody possibly just kind of starting out and experimenting with reds. Oh, I love that. I want to leave that on for the day. I just feel like it looks really good with this soft eye look and the full coverage face. But I do have a lipstick from the Lasting Finish range. I used to be all about the Lasting Finish lipsticks. There was a deep shade that I would pull into everything, I feel like, back in the day. It was deep, it had a little shimmer, kind of the way I use my Maybelline Super Stay Matte Ink Crayon and Live on the Edge these days. But this shade is 08. That's all we know about this. Softly pink. I would say there's a hint of a satin finish in that. A very classic pink shade. And then I recently got, as I showed you in the haul, the last video, the Madame Web edition of the Stay Glossy in the shade Stay My Rose. If you look on Rimmel's website, you can see Madame Web, and she looks pretty cool actually. So that's gonna be a new movie coming out. But this is a sheer, barely there color-wise gloss, but a really nice glossy texture. Doesn't have quite the tackiness in it that these do. Like, this is a little lighter feeling gloss, but still doesn't feel like it's gonna, you know, run outside my lip line or anything. But wow, that's a great lip. I still feel like I want to go back to that reddish shade for the day, but my word. We have a lot of success stories in this video, Rimmel. And again, for it to be one of those lines in the drugstore that's costing less than most others. Do you see what I mean? How this is not a full colored like red lipstick. It's a little sheer, it's balmy. And I love the skinny design. That might be what sets it just a little bit over the CoverGirl Clean Fresh for me, is having the skinnier stick. Oh, so nice. And this mascara at this point, it feels like it has dried down. Really beautiful length. So honestly, so many wins in this video. I'm enjoying the Lasting Finish all over again. This concealer paired well, like the skin looked so good with both of these applied, and then we just set with a little Stay Matte pressed powder and it was fine. Like, it was a very light amount of powder put on the skin, but it looked really good and really complete after that point. The primer is something I would use again. I'm a little curious to see how it all wears throughout the day. This has been good, but I'll keep an eye on whether the primer like helps in any additional ways or not. Who's coming in? Love you.
Hi, world.
How'd you sleep?
Good.
Really, the Stay Matte powder and the natural bronzer are a couple of the longest standing things that I've been using from Rimmel. I do feel they're quite reliable. They're super affordable. You know, that and the Lasting Finish, those are great items. The Maxi blushes were very impressive. They could go much harder than I even had them go on my cheeks. The Magnifies Nude Edition eye palette, honestly, what a great everyday look. What a great, absolutely works with anything look. Any lip color, any blush, any outfit, any person, I feel, could be satisfied here. Whether you have aging eyes and you want some great basics in there, nothing too shimmery. If you're starting out with makeup and you don't want to be overwhelmed by tapping into products and having a bunch of dust kick up and being overwhelmed with the color amount. This was very manageable, but very effective, I feel. That's another thing in my it worked pile. The mascara totally worked for me. The lip products, as I said, the Lasting Finish lipstick range is good. The Stay Plump glosses are very nice, and I'm curious about what other shades are out there in this Kind and Free tinted lip balm, but this red, or turbo red as they call it, is a really nice soft red. The only things that didn't completely thrill me in this video were the Brow This Way Professional Pencil. It's just a basic pencil, y'all. It's a little bit drier feeling than some of the other things I work with. The shade, even though I selected dark brown, I feel like the shade still has maybe more warmth than I would want. I can still use it, and it was not a complete fail, but just not my favorite thing here. And then the Kind and Free eyeliner. Again, worked, but not like, whoa. It's just a basic pencil, okay? If you're going over eyeshadow, expect to maybe have to take a few swipes to get her warmed up. But all in all, a hugely successful video with many gems, and I'm really glad that it went that way. This is an affordable drugstore brand that's keeping things at really fair prices, and if that's what you've been looking for, don't overlook Rimmel. And just because it's not in Walmart, Walgreens may be carrying more, and I think you can also look on Amazon for some things too. So thank you all so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video as much as I did, and I will see you again very soon. I love you. Bye.